Relax. Breathe. That very breath you just took, it's not just air, it's power, it's creation. And the quieter you become, the more you will hear what's always been speaking to you. The noise of the world has kept you running, rushing, pushing. But the secret has never been in the struggle, it has always been in the stillness. The stillness is not emptiness, it's fullness waiting to be recognized. And when you understand that, you don't chase anymore. You attract. You don't beg anymore, you receive. The moment you truly relax, not just with your body, but with your mind, your heart, your inner world, you begin to remember your true position, not as a servant of life, but as a creator within it. The illusion of effort dissolves. You no longer try to bend the outer world by force. Instead, you begin to realize that the outer world bends to the inner image you hold persistently and calmly. And that's the beauty most people miss. They think desire must be matched with sweat. But desire, real desire, must be matched with knowing. A knowing that flows from deep relaxation, not tension. So you relax. And you imagine, not because it's a game, not because it's wishful thinking, but because imagination is the only reality. What you see inwardly, you will hold outwardly. The world around you is a mirror. It reflects the image you consistently project. Not in panic, not in desperation, but in quiet confidence. And that confidence grows only in stillness. In stillness, you become the sculptor of your world. You shape it not with hands, but with assumptions. You carve your future with the chisel of belief. And the more relaxed you are, the more precise and powerful your creation becomes. The one who is relaxed does not look to the world to confirm what he believes. He believes because he has seen it within, and that is enough. The one who is tense, who is desperate, who is looking around every corner for proof, has already denied his creation. Because in his anxiety, he is saying, I do not yet have it, and so he pushes it further away. But when you are calm, when you are still, when you rest in the assumption that what you desire is already yours, then the world has no choice but to fall in line with your inner truth. This is the art of manifestation. Not loud, not frantic, but quiet, intentional, precise. You don't have to manipulate anyone. You don't have to convince the world. You don't even have to tell the soul. All you need to do is feel it real. Feel it here and now. Feel it so deeply that you forget it's not yet seen. Because to you, it is. And once it becomes real within, the world will echo it back to you in ways you could never predict. Through paths you never imagined, through people you didn't expect. And what is it you desire? Love, wealth, peace, purpose? It's already waiting in the invisible, waiting for your claim, waiting for your surrender, not to lack but to abundance. You don't have to earn it, you have to accept it. And the only way to accept it is to rest in it, sit in it. Be so familiar with the feeling of having it that the world must bow to your inner certainty. This is not arrogance, it's spiritual law. The law that governs everything visible begins in the invisible. So you do not manifest by trying harder. You manifest by relaxing deeper, by trusting more, by believing in the unseen more than you fear the seen. You create by choosing your thoughts like a master artist selects colors. You choose the beautiful ones, the bold ones, the rich ones, the loving ones, and you let them fill the canvas of your mind until the picture is complete within. And once it is complete within, it must appear without. Not because you forced it, but because you lived it. Let others rush. Let others doubt. Let others call you foolish for closing your eyes and seeing a life they cannot yet comprehend. Let them laugh. Let them misunderstand, because soon they will see what you already know. They will see the evidence of what you relaxed into, what you assumed, what you dared to feel without proof. This is your true work, not to change the world, but to change your inner atmosphere, to breathe, to rest, to know, and in knowing to receive. You were never meant to fight for your blessings, you were meant to align with them. And alignment is only possible through ease, through surrender, through the quiet confidence of one who already owns it all in the unseen. So close your eyes, feel it now, and do not open them until your soul smiles with the warmth of having already received. The beginning of true manifestation lies in a place few people ever think to visit: deep, unshakable relaxation. Not the kind of surface relaxation where the body is still but the mind is racing. No, this is a surrender at the deepest level, a release of all tension in thought, emotion, and belief. You cannot enter the creative state when your soul is tight with worry. You cannot see clearly when your mind is cloudy with doubt. Every desire you hold, every wish you carry is already planted within the unseen realm. But to bring it into form, you must become like the soil that receives the seed. Soft, still, and fertile. Struggle, although praised by the world, is the enemy of manifestation. It tells you that you must work harder, try more, do something to make it happen. But the act of trying is often a confession that you believe it hasn't happened yet. And this belief alone is the gatekeeper that keeps your blessing out. Trying too hard chokes the seed before it can grow. Worry drowns it. Doubt digs it back up to check whether it's working. But when you truly relax, when you lean back into the invisible arms of faith, something powerful begins to stir. You step into alignment, not with your fears, but with your vision. Most people are conditioned to associate results with pressure. They think they must be tense in order to be focused. But true focus is never born out of anxiety. It comes from stillness. The kind of stillness that is so deep, it becomes a sacred space where creation is allowed to unfold naturally. You don't have to keep checking the clock. You don't have to force every move. You don't have to chase what is already yours by divine right. You simply have to become still enough to let it come. The relaxed state is not laziness, it's not avoidance, it is the highest form of confidence. It says, I know what I saw, I know what I felt, and I don't need the world to show it to me before I believe. This is the vibration that draws all things unto you. When you are relaxed, you are no longer reacting to circumstances, you are creating them. When you are relaxed, you no longer ask, when will it come? Instead, you smile because you know it already has. It just hasn't shown up yet in a way the senses can perceive. But your soul already feels it. And that's enough. Tension is born from fear. Fear that you are not enough. Fear that the universe may forget you. Fear that you've missed your moment. But none of that is true. The relaxed person knows that the universe has perfect memory, that it forgets nothing you have imagined, nothing you have deeply felt. Every moment spent in the energy of your desire fulfilled is a moment recorded. And in divine timing, it must return to you in physical form. There is no force on earth that can stop what you have truly accepted within. So why relax? Because it is the doorway to your power. It is in that relaxed state that you receive visions. It is in that quietness that you hear the whisper of direction. It is in stillness that you come to know, not hope, not wish, but know that what you've asked for is already en route. That's why the ancients meditated. That's why the sages withdrew from the noise, not to escape life, but to create it on a higher level. You don't create by fighting reality. You create by redefining it from the inside. And you can't do that if you're frantic. You can't do that if you're panicking. The truth is, you're not manifesting from force, you're manifesting from awareness. A quiet awareness that says, I don't chase, I attract. I don't struggle, I allow. And this state is only accessible when you've made peace with the now. When you've decided that this present moment is not a barrier to what you desire, but the birthplace of it. Many people are living in an emotional state of emergency. Every day is a race. Every thought is a problem to be solved. Every feeling is a war between fear and hope. But this is not the atmosphere where miracles grow. Miracles grow in quiet hearts. Desires blossom in peaceful minds. The more deeply you relax, the more clearly you see, and in that clarity, what once seemed far begins to move toward you with ease. You'll notice something strange once you begin to relax. Things start shifting around you. People change, opportunities appear, solutions rise up, not because you pushed, but because you finally stopped resisting. The outer world is molded by your inner posture. If your posture is tense, your results will feel blocked. But if your posture is one of deep inner calm, the path clears itself, because life follows the frequency of your being. This is the great reversal of the world's teaching. The world says, do more, hustle more, grind more. But the Spirit says, be still and know. Know that what is yours is already moving. Know that your role is not to force the flower to bloom, but to create the conditions in which it can. And the most powerful condition is rest. Rest in the belief that you are the chosen vessel through which this desire will flow. There is no one too unworthy, too broken, or too late to manifest what they desire. But there are many who are too hurried, too anxious, too focused on proving and fixing to ever receive. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. You do not need to hustle to be seen. You only need to relax into the knowing that all that is meant for you cannot miss you. What is meant for you will find you, not in your stress, but in your surrender. This is not passivity. This is not giving up. It is spiritual alignment. And once you are in that alignment, you'll find that things come faster, that answers arrive more clearly, that blessings find their way to you as if drawn by a magnet. That magnet is your state of being, and relaxation is what charges it. When you let go of needing something to happen, you make room for it to happen. When you release the tension that says, I need this to feel whole, you declare that you are already whole. And that wholeness becomes the fertile ground from which everything else emerges. You don't beg the universe, you join with it. You become one with the vibration of your desire. And in that unity, your manifestation is not a question, it becomes inevitable. Imagination is not a pastime. It is not a playful distraction or a creative exercise meant for children and dreamers. It is the very engine of creation, the unseen architect behind all that you call real. What you see in your external world is nothing but a delayed reflection of the inner world you have nourished with thought, emotion, and belief. If you can grasp this truth, not just mentally but deeply, spiritually, then you will begin to understand why imagination is everything. What you imagine with faith, what you see clearly and consistently within, becomes inevitable without. And the key is to feel it so fully within that the outer world has no choice but to match it. The person who lives in their imagination is not detached from reality. They are engaged with the higher reality. They are not avoiding life, they are rewriting it from the source. Everything you have, everything you lack, every relationship, every opportunity, every experience you meet is a projection of the images and assumptions you carry within. Change the image, and the world must change in response, not out of magic, but out of law. A spiritual law that does not fail, that does not discriminate, and that always works. Whether you believe in it or not, there is no limitation that does not begin in imagination. And there is no freedom that cannot be born there. If you imagine yourself as stuck, poor, unloved, unnoticed, you may live a lifetime trying to escape that condition through action alone. But no amount of action can override the script you are holding inside. The action will always bend to fit the pattern of your belief. That is why people repeat cycles, why they sabotage success, why they find themselves attracting the same kinds of relationships, problems, and outcomes. Because they never change the movie playing in their mind. And as long as that movie is the same, the screen of life cannot help but reflect it. You must begin then by living within, by going daily into the sanctuary of imagination, not to escape, but to create. You must see yourself already living the life you desire, already holding the outcome you crave, already being the person you long to become. You must see it, feel it, breathe in it, walk in it, until it is more real to you than the absence of it. This is not delusion, it is discipline. It is the ability to dwell in the unseen until it becomes seen. The world may not yet see it, but you do, and that sight is what calls it forth. Most people use their imagination unconsciously and destructively. They imagine what can go wrong, they imagine being rejected, they imagine failing, they imagine being unworthy of what they seek, and then they wonder why life meets them with hardship. But you are not most people. You are awakening. You are seeing now that you are the writer, the director, and the actor all at once. That what you focus on internally with emotion becomes a command, a decree, a living force that gathers the circumstances and people needed to bring that vision into your world. So how do you begin to use this power? You begin in quiet. You close your eyes, not to shut out the world, but to open the inner one. You see yourself in the scene of your desire, already in possession, already victorious, already healed, already loved. And you feel the emotions that would come if that were true right now. You do not wait for the feeling, you generate it, you live from it, you assume it. And as you do, something profound takes place. The subconscious mind, which is the bridge between spirit and matter, begins to accept this inner scene as reality. Once the subconscious accepts it, your entire energy shifts. You speak differently, you walk differently, you attract differently. Without even trying, you begin to move in ways that align with your vision. People respond to you differently because you are radiating a new frequency. You don't have to announce it, you don't have to explain yourself. The world picks up on your inner transformation. And slowly or suddenly, the imagined becomes tangible. But it begins with devotion to the inner picture. Not just a fleeting daydream, but a commitment to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled. And the way to dwell is not through effort, but through feeling. Feeling is the glue that holds the image in place. Feeling is the bridge between thought and form. You must ask yourself, not just what do I want, but what would it feel like if I had it right now? And then you relax into that feeling, you marinate in it, you let it wash over you until your body believes it's true, even if your senses do not yet agree. And when doubt comes, as it will, you return. You do not argue with the doubt, you do not try to force it away. You simply go back to your vision. You remind yourself, what I see within is what I will live without. You trust that the law does not fail. You do not need to chase proof. You are the proof in progress. And the more loyal you are to your imagination, the more loyal reality will be to you. It is not your job to figure out how it will come. It is not your job to decide the path. It is only your job to persist in the image. The path will rise to meet your vibration. The people, the moments, the open doors, they will all show up in harmony with the world you have been living in, within. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait for conditions to be perfect. The moment you feel it real, you plant the seed. And seeds never stay buried. They rise. They break through the surface. They seek the light. Your only responsibility is to protect the garden of your mind, to nourish it with faith, to prune the weeds of fear and doubt, to water it with daily imagination, and to rest in the knowing that every vision, seen with conviction, is already on its way. The world you long for does not exist out there. It exists within you. And the more vividly and calmly you hold it, the more quickly it will appear. You don't have to hope it will come true. You have to know that it already is. That the life you imagine is not a fantasy. It is a preview, a glimpse of what is being prepared for you. But you must meet it halfway. Not with striving, but with stillness. Not with pleading, but with presence. With faith so deep, it becomes your new reality long before the world can catch up. Feeling is not a step in the process, it is the process. The moment you understand that feeling is the creative key, the axis upon which manifestation turns, your entire relationship with your desires changes. You stop waiting, you stop hoping, you stop asking when or how. You move into the most powerful space a person can inhabit, the state of already having. And this state is not defined by circumstance, it's defined by emotion. You do not manifest by thinking about what you want. You manifest by feeling what it would be like if it were already yours. And holding that feeling until it becomes the atmosphere you live in. The mistake many make is this. They wait to feel good until something happens. They wait to feel secure until they see evidence. They wait to feel loved until someone shows up. But this is backwards. You do not feel it after it appears. You feel it so that it appears. The outer is always the echo, the reflection, the delayed response to what has already happened in consciousness. So if you're waiting to feel rich, waiting to feel chosen, waiting to feel successful, you are postponing the manifestation of those very things. You are saying with your vibration, it's not here yet. And so the universe mirrors that lack back to you. Feeling is the secret because it bypasses the surface mind. It speaks directly to the subconscious, the creative engine of your life. The subconscious does not respond to words alone. It responds to conviction, to inner experience, to sensation. You can affirm 1,000 times, I am wealthy. But if your emotional state says otherwise, nothing will shift. But if you close your eyes and in stillness begin to embody the feeling of wealth, of safety, of overflow, of freedom, the subconscious begins to accept that state as true. And once accepted, it orchestrates the conditions that match it. This is not about pretending. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing the dominant feeling you want to live in and returning to it consistently until it becomes more familiar than fear. It's about letting go of the need for external validation and anchoring yourself in the reality of your own inner world, because your inner world is not imagination, it's causation. The physical world is just the effect. The real power is in how you feel right now, even with no evidence, especially with no evidence. To feel something real, you don't need the whole picture. You don't need to know how it will come or who it will come through or what day it will arrive. You only need to conjure the essence of what you desire. If it's love, you feel cherished, you feel seen, you feel chosen. If it's abundance, you feel secure, you feel generous, you feel supported. You immerse yourself in the emotion of the experience as though you're already living in it. And the deeper you go into that feeling, the more magnetic you become. The world doesn't respond to your wishes, it responds to your state. And the state is not changed by force, it's changed by surrender. By allowing yourself to drop the armor of doubt and simply feel what it would be like to have it now. Not in the future, not when things improve, but now. You sit with that feeling, you breathe it in, you let it take over your being. And from that place, you begin to speak differently, move differently, choose differently. Not because you're trying to force something, but because your inner reality has shifted. Think of it like tuning a radio. You don't have to yell at the radio to change the station, you simply turn the dial. That dial is your emotional state. When you tune into the feeling of the thing already done, you align with the frequency where it already exists. And once you're on that frequency, you start picking up signals you couldn't hear before. Ideas, encounters, timing, favor. It's not about luck, it's about resonance. Life meets you at your level of feeling, not your level of need. People often say, I want this so badly, thinking that desire alone is enough. But raw desire without the matching feeling often creates more lack. It amplifies the absence of the thing. It stirs up impatience and frustration. True desire, when it is productive, is paired with the feeling of its fulfillment. It is not a craving, but a knowing, a quiet joy, a sense of arrival, even in the waiting. And that arrival is not passive, it is magnetic. It pulls the pieces of your reality together like a divine puzzle, where every piece knows exactly where it belongs. You don't need to control every detail, you just need to stay in the state. And the state is anchored by feeling. You protect it like a treasure, you return to it like a sanctuary. Every time the world distracts you, tempts you to doubt, you pause and feel it again. You remind yourself that this is your true home, the inner reality you've chosen to dwell in. And because you've chosen it, the outer world will follow. Not maybe, not someday, but as a certainty. Because nothing that is sustained internally with true feeling can be denied externally for long. This is why your emotions matter more than your circumstances. Why your internal atmosphere is more important than what anyone says or does. You could be surrounded by lack and still feel rich. Surrounded by rejection and still feel loved. Surrounded by limitation and still feel free. And if you hold that feeling, not with tension but with peace, the outer world will yield. It must, because it was never in control to begin with. You always were. You are not a beggar in the kingdom of the universe, you are its heir. But to claim your inheritance, you must feel like the one who already possesses it. And that begins the moment you stop waiting and start feeling, not for proof, but because you finally remember who you are. When you relax into your desire instead of reaching for it in desperation, you align yourself with the quiet intelligence of the universe. You align with timing that is not rushed, not chaotic, not pressured by fear, but perfect. Divinely orchestrated, precisely unfolding. The reason most people miss what they seek is not because the universe says no. It's because their impatience drowns out what was already being prepared. They knock down doors that were already opening gently. They demand answers while the solution was unfolding in silence. There is a rhythm to life, a cadence to creation, and it does not respond well to force. It responds to trust. And trust only grows in stillness. When you try to force a manifestation, you are declaring, consciously or unconsciously, that it's not happening, that it's delayed, that it's missing. And from this inner declaration, you begin to grasp, push, and panic. You begin to interfere with what was already forming. You no longer cooperate with the unseen process. You try to dominate it. But manifestation is not a battlefield. It's a relationship, a sacred partnership between your consciousness and the unseen laws that shape your world. When you trust those laws, you no longer question whether your desire is coming. You simply rest, knowing that it must. This trust does not mean you sit idle, but it does mean you stop worrying. You stop micromanaging. You stop dissecting the how and when. Instead, you relax into the awareness that what you have felt within is on its way, carried by forces that know more than your surface mind ever could. You stop trying to make things happen and begin allowing them to happen, and that allowance is what moves things faster. The paradox is this: the more you try to speed it up, the more you slow it down. But the more you surrender to divine timing, the more effortlessly things fall into place. There are currents beneath the surface of your life. Currents that only move when you're still enough to feel them. When you're caught in fear, you thrash, you resist, you fight the flow. But when you're calm, you can sense the direction, the pull, the subtle movement, guiding you to where you need to be. Divine timing is not always your timing, but it is always the right timing. And when you align with it, you no longer miss opportunities because you're too busy panicking. You see them, you're ready for them. Because you trusted that the preparation, the waiting, the quiet seasons, they all had purpose. People often believe that if they're not doing something every moment, they're falling behind. But what if the most powerful thing you could do is to stop and listen? What if silence is where your answer has been waiting? What if the invisible arrangements that will deliver your desire are already in motion, but they need your stillness to land? There is a grace that flows when you're not fighting against time, when you're not cursing the delay or doubting the process. And in that grace, doors open in ways that action alone could never accomplish. The relaxed mind is not inactive, it is in harmony. It knows that inspired action will come, but it doesn't panic if it hasn't arrived yet. It knows that sometimes the waiting is not punishment, it's alignment. It's life moving people, events, and conditions into perfect placement so that when your desire arrives, it fits. Not forced, not fragile, but fully formed. When you are relaxed, you don't rush into the wrong relationship out of fear of loneliness. You don't accept the lesser opportunity because you're tired of waiting. You don't settle because you know that what you felt real inside is on its way, and it's worth the stillness it requires. There is power in knowing that the unseen is working for you even when nothing visible seems to be changing. There is maturity in staying steady while others are frantic. You become unshakable not because life is always smooth, but because you know what lies in you is greater than what's around you. You understand that every desire, when genuinely felt and assumed, sets into motion a divine orchestration. And your role is not to rush it, but to trust it. Not to chase it, but to relax into the feeling of it being done. And here's what happens when you do that. You begin to notice signs, a word spoken that confirms your vision, a coincidence that doesn't feel like coincidence, a sense of peace that replaces your urgency. These are not random. These are the signals that your vibration is aligned, that your inner world and the outer world are beginning to meet. And the less you interfere, the faster the merging becomes. The energy of desperation repels, but the energy of peace attracts. Your nervous system is not designed to manifest from stress. You cannot hear the quiet voice of guidance when your thoughts are screaming in panic. But when you slow down, when you soften your grip, when you begin to trust the unseen with more confidence than the seen, you step into flow. Not passive, but receptive. Not weak, but surrendered. This is not giving up. This is giving in to wisdom greater than your own, to a process more intricate than your mind can map, to a timing more divine than your calendar could ever plan. You may not see the results immediately, but the moment you drop the inner fight, you will feel the shift. And that feeling is your confirmation. That peace is your evidence, because peace always comes before manifestation. It is the inner sign that alignment has occurred. And once alignment is true, manifestation is simply a matter of time. So you stop measuring the clock. You stop counting the days. You stop wondering why it hasn't come. You already know it's coming. It was always coming. And now you finally become still enough to receive it. Your outer world is not a mystery. It is a mirror. It reflects back to you not what you ask for in words, but what you continuously accept in feeling. Everything you see around you, your relationships, your finances, your health, your opportunities, is responding to the dominant emotional atmosphere you carry within. If you live in the feeling of peace, the world becomes more peaceful. If you live in the feeling of lack, the world reflects limitation. If you live in the quiet confidence of abundance, people and events begin to align with prosperity. This is not imagination detached from life. This is how life itself is shaped. We have been taught to look outward first, to try to control circumstances, rearrange events, convince people, or wait for the world to offer proof before we believe something can change. But this approach is backwards. The outer does not change the inner changes the outer. The moment you understand that, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop asking the world to treat you differently and begin treating yourself differently on the inside. And once that shift is genuine, everything else must shift with it. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to explain why you're different now. Your energy speaks for you. Your energy is your command. You may have noticed that when you are in a bad mood, it feels like the whole world reflects it. People seem rude, obstacles appear, even technology fails. And when you are joyful, calm, grounded, things seem to work in your favor. This is not coincidence. This is a feedback loop. Life responds to your vibration, and your vibration is dictated by your emotional state, not your words, not your appearance, not your effort, but the atmosphere you carry inside without even realizing it. To change your life, you must become deeply conscious of that atmosphere. You must treat your inner state with the same importance as your goals. What are you feeling most of the time? Are you carrying a quiet dread, a subtle doubt, a low-level anxiety that you've come to accept as normal? If so, the world is responding accordingly. But the good news is that you can shift it immediately, not by changing your surroundings, but by changing the feeling that you hold. And that change begins with choice, a choice to no longer wait for something out there to change, but to claim the change here, now, inside. You begin to ask yourself powerful questions. What does the version of me who has already received the desire feel like? How does that version think, walk, speak, react? And you start practicing that energy. Not once, not for 5 minutes, but consistently, until it becomes your default, your dwelling place, your home. You stop treating your desire as something far away and begin living from it as if it were already here. And the more you do this, the more the mirror shifts, because the mirror cannot help but follow the subject. This is not acting, this is aligning. You are not faking anything. You are waking up to the truth that what you repeatedly feel becomes what you eventually experience. You are not lying to yourself when you feel loved before someone shows up. You are not pretending when you feel wealthy before your account reflects it. You are declaring your reality from a higher level of awareness. And as you hold to that state, life organizes itself to prove you right, not because you forced it, but because you lived it internally. The mistake people often make is trying to change the outer world first. They think if they get the right job, then they'll feel successful. If they meet the right person, then they'll feel worthy. If they have enough money, then they'll feel safe. But this makes them prisoners of circumstance. Their emotions are held hostage by things they cannot control. And so they wait. They wait for a future that may never come, all while holding on to a present emotional state that blocks the very things they're asking for. But when you decide to reverse this pattern, to feel now what you want to feel later, you free yourself. You take back your power. You realize that you don't have to wait to feel secure. You can embody it now. You don't have to wait to feel joyful. You can breathe it in now. And from that inner freedom, the outer world begins to shift, not because you escaped reality, but because you created a new one, a reality that reflects the state you dared to live in, regardless of appearances. Even if nothing around you confirms your new feeling, you hold it, you protect it, you nurture it, because it is real to you. It's not a hope, it's a knowing. And in time, that knowing carves a path, The world cannot resist the energy of someone who has already become what they desire. That kind of person does not beg. They don't chase. They don't argue with what is. They remain steady, centered, composed. And that composure becomes magnetic. It draws people, opportunities, and events that match the inner reality. Your world is but a mirror, reflecting back to you the state of your consciousness. If you wish to experience the life of the super rich, you must first assume the consciousness of wealth, not as a dream, not as something distant, but as your present reality. To act rich is not to mimic the habits of the wealthy. It is to dwell in the feeling of abundance so completely that your outer world has no choice but to conform. The mind conditioned by lack will always seek evidence of limitation, counting what is missing, fearing what is uncertain. But one who knows the truth walks in a different way. The super rich are not burdened by thoughts of scarcity. They move with certainty, not because they wait for proof, but because they carry within them an unshakable knowing. They do not beg for opportunities, they assume them. They do not chase money, they believe it flows to them effortlessly. It is this inner conviction that bends reality in their favor. Look at your daily actions, your thoughts, your words. Are they aligned with the wealth you claim to desire? One who knows their fortune does not hesitate, does not shrink back in doubt. They do not speak of how hard life is, how expensive things are, how impossible it seems. They speak from abundance, not towards it. They expect the finest, not because they demand it, but because it is natural for them to receive. There is no effort in this, no need to force, no need to struggle. To act like the super rich is to live now as if your wealth is undeniable. Walk with a quiet confidence, move through life as if you own it, not in arrogance, but in complete trust. The way you see yourself determines the way the world sees you. If you carry yourself as one who lacks, your reality will reflect lack. If you carry yourself as one who already possesses, all things will rearrange themselves to match that assumption. Change does not come from working harder, from grasping at more, from waiting for something external to shift. It comes from dwelling persistently in the feeling of already having. Spend time in the silence of your mind, constructing the life you desire in vivid detail, not as a wish, but as a certainty. Feel the weight of luxury in your hands, hear the sounds of wealth around you, move through the world as one who has arrived. The moment you accept this as your truth, your world must bend to it. Wealth is not something outside of you waiting to be attained. It is a state of mind, a feeling, a knowing that exists within you right now. To assume the consciousness of wealth means to think, feel, and move through the world as if you are already rich, as if abundance is your natural state. This is not about pretending or playing a role. It is about a deep inner shift, a transformation of your awareness that alters the reality you experience. Most people believe that wealth is something to be earned, struggled for, or obtained through external means. They place it outside of themselves, thinking that if only they worked harder, found the right opportunity, or met the right people, then they would become wealthy. But this is an illusion. The truth is that the world you experience is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. What you hold as true within yourself is what materializes in your life. If you see yourself as someone who lacks, if you feel the weight of limitation, then your world will mirror that back to you. If, however, you shift your awareness to one of wealth, if you truly believe and feel that you are already abundant, then reality has no choice but to conform. This is not about wishful thinking. It is not about looking at your bank account, seeing emptiness and saying, "I am rich," while feeling nothing but doubt. It is about embodying the feeling of wealth so completely that you no longer seek evidence of it outside of you. You do not need the world to confirm it first. You confirm it within yourself, and then the world reshapes itself accordingly. Look at those who are truly wealthy, those for whom abundance is effortless. Their actions, their words, their very presence communicate a deep sense of certainty. They do not hesitate when opportunities arise. They do not speak of lack or struggle. They do not worry about how things will come to them, they simply know that they will. This is not because they were born into privilege or had some special advantage. It is because they have conditioned their minds to accept wealth as their reality. To assume the consciousness of wealth, you must train yourself to think as the wealthy think, to feel as they feel. This begins with awareness. Notice your habitual thoughts about money, abundance, and success. Do you see money as something hard to earn? Do you believe that wealth is reserved for others but not for you? Do you feel tension or fear when you think about financial matters? These beliefs are shaping your reality. If you wish to change your experience, you must change the way you think and feel. Start by immersing yourself in the feeling of already having what you desire. Close your eyes and imagine a life of unlimited abundance. See yourself moving through the world with ease, never questioning whether you can afford something, never feeling restricted. How does it feel to know that money flows to you effortlessly? How does it feel to be completely free from financial worry? Dwell in this state as often as you can until it becomes second nature. This is not about living in denial of your current circumstances. It is about shifting your inner reality so that your outer world must follow. The mistake most people make is waiting for proof before they believe. They say, I will feel wealthy once I have money, but it does not work this way. The feeling must come first. You must act, think, and feel like a rich person before the evidence appears. It is not the money that makes one wealthy. It is the consciousness of wealth that attracts the money. Observe the way the wealthy carry themselves. They walk with confidence, not because they have money, but because they know they belong in the world of abundance. They do not hesitate when making financial decisions, not because they never experience loss, but because they trust in their ability to create more. They do not live in fear of running out, because their internal state tells them that there is always more. This is the essence of the consciousness of wealth. To cultivate this mindset, begin by shifting your language. Eliminate words of lack from your vocabulary. Do not speak of things being too expensive. Do not say, I can't afford that, or money is hard to come by. These words reinforce a consciousness of lack. Instead, speak as one who always has enough. Even if your external reality has not yet shifted, discipline yourself to speak from abundance. When faced with a financial decision, instead of saying, I don't have enough, say, I choose to spend my money differently right now. This small shift keeps you in a state of power rather than one of limitation. Beyond words, practice the physicality of wealth. Move through the world as if you already have all that you need. If you were truly rich, how would you carry yourself? Would you walk with hesitation or with certainty? Would you shrink in discomfort or expand with confidence? Embody the posture, the breath, the ease of a person who knows they are abundant. This does not mean reckless spending or pretending to be someone you are not. It means aligning your inner world with the truth you wish to manifest. A wealthy person does not worry over every purchase, does not stress over bills, does not feel unworthy of luxury. Begin living in this state now and watch as reality molds itself around your new consciousness. Gratitude is another key to shifting into the consciousness of wealth. The mind that focuses on what is missing will always experience lack, no matter how much it accumulates. But the mind that focuses on abundance, on the riches already present, will attract more of the same. Every day, find evidence of wealth in your life. Perhaps it is the roof over your head, the food on your table, the opportunities that come your way. Acknowledge them, give thanks for them, and in doing so, you align yourself with the frequency of abundance. Wealth is not a number in a bank account, it is a state of mind. There are those who have millions and still live in fear, and there are those who possess very little, yet feel limitless. The difference is in their consciousness. True wealth is the deep knowing that you are always provided for, that there is always enough, that abundance is your birthright. When you assume this consciousness, money ceases to be something you chase. It becomes something that flows to you effortlessly as a reflection of your inner state. To assume the consciousness of wealth is to no longer see yourself as someone who lacks. It is to walk in the world with the quiet confidence of one who knows their fortune is inevitable. It is to expect abundance, not as a possibility, but as an unshakable truth. It is to live now as the person you wish to become, knowing that in doing so you are not pretending, you are creating. The moment you fully accept this state, the world has no choice but to respond in kind. The truly wealthy do not move through the world with hesitation. They do not second-guess their decisions or question whether they are deserving of abundance. They act with certainty, not because they have external proof of success, but because they have conditioned their minds to expect wealth as a natural outcome. It is not luck or chance that sets them apart. It is their unwavering belief in their own abundance. They do not hope for success, they assume it. They do not wait for permission to step into a higher level of prosperity, they claim it as their own. Many people spend their lives waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for someone to recognize their worth, waiting for their circumstances to change before they feel secure. But those who understand the power of consciousness do not wait. They move as though what they desire is already theirs. They make decisions with confidence, not because they have all the answers, but because they trust in their ability to create the outcome they want. Think about the way you make decisions in your life. Do you hesitate? Do you second-guess yourself? Do you seek external validation before you take action? These are signs of a consciousness conditioned by lack. The truly wealthy do not ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "Is this aligned with who I am?" They do not worry about whether opportunities will come, they expect them. They do not question whether money will flow to them, they know it. This is not arrogance, it is certainty. And certainty is what bends reality in their favor. Certainty is not something that comes from the outside. It is not something you gain once you have proof that things will work out. It is something you cultivate within yourself, long before the evidence appears. If you need proof before you believe, you will always be waiting. The secret is to believe first, to trust first, to move first. The world responds to your assumptions, and when you act with certainty, everything aligns to match your inner conviction. There is a fundamental difference between those who struggle and those who succeed. Those who struggle hesitate. They analyze every move, they fear making mistakes, they look at what could go wrong. Those who succeed act decisively. They do not dwell on fear because they do not operate from a mindset of loss. They know that wealth is not about never making mistakes. It is about moving forward with the confidence that they can always create more. Imagine two people presented with the same opportunity. One hesitates, questioning whether they are ready, worrying about what might happen if they fail. The other moves forward with certainty, trusting in their ability to make it work. Who do you think will succeed? It is not intelligence, background, or external circumstances that determine success. It is the ability to act with conviction. The universe rewards certainty because certainty is a reflection of an abundant consciousness. If you observe the wealthy, you will see that they do not live in fear of losing. They are not controlled by scarcity. They do not hold on to money with anxiety, afraid that if they spend it, they will not get more. They trust in the flow of abundance. They know that wealth is not something they need to chase. It is something they attract through their state of being. This trust allows them to take bold actions, to invest in themselves, to say yes to opportunities without hesitation. And because they move with this energy, the world meets them with the same confidence. Certainty does not mean recklessness. It does not mean making impulsive decisions or spending without thought. It means trusting in yourself enough to know that whatever you decide, you will create success. It means knowing that you are the source of your abundance, not your job, not your circumstances, not the economy. It means recognizing that wealth is not something outside of you. It is something you generate from within. Think about a time in your life when you moved with absolute certainty. Perhaps there was something you deeply desired, and instead of questioning whether it was possible, you simply decided it was yours. You did not worry about how it would happen, you simply knew it would. And because you carried that energy, things fell into place effortlessly. This is the power of moving with certainty. When you remove doubt, you remove resistance. And when you remove resistance, reality shifts in your favor. Now consider the opposite. Think about a time when you hesitated, when you allowed doubt to creep in. Did things unfold smoothly, or did obstacles seem to appear at every turn? Hesitation creates resistance. It tells the universe that you do not fully believe, and so the universe mirrors that uncertainty back to you. To embody wealth, you must move through life as though abundance is already yours. When you walk into a room, do so with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they belong. When you make a decision, trust that it is the right one, not because you have all the answers, but because you trust in your ability to navigate whatever comes next. When you invest in yourself, do so with the knowing that you are worthy of the best. You do not need external validation to feel secure. You do not need confirmation from the world before you claim your abundance. You must decide right now that you are wealthy and then act accordingly. This is not about pretending, it is about shifting into a state of being where wealth is your natural condition. Consider how this applies to your daily life. Do you walk with confidence or do you shrink back in doubt? Do you make decisions from a place of trust or do you hesitate in fear? Do you expect opportunities or do you question whether they will come? These small shifts in behavior are what determine the difference between those who struggle and those who thrive. Certainty is magnetic. When you move through the world with the conviction that you are already wealthy, people respond to you differently. Opportunities appear where before there were none. Money flows to you in unexpected ways. Things fall into place effortlessly, not because you are trying harder, but because you are embodying the consciousness of abundance. This is not something you wait for, it is something you step into now. Act as if you are already the person you wish to be. Think as they would think, move as they would move, make decisions as they would make them. The moment you shift your consciousness, the world has no choice but to follow. Wealth is not about numbers in a bank account, nor is it determined by external circumstances. It is a state of consciousness, a way of being. The truly wealthy do not chase money, nor do they feel the need to prove their wealth. They embody it. They carry themselves with an energy that signals to the world that they are abundant. This is not an act of arrogance, but a deep inner knowing that wealth is their natural state. To understand this, you must first recognize that everything begins within. The world outside of you is merely a reflection of what is happening inside you. If you feel small, if you see yourself as lacking, the world will reflect that back to you. If you constantly worry about money, fearing that there is never enough, you will always find yourself in situations that confirm this belief. But if you shift your perception, if you start seeing yourself as someone who is already wealthy, already deserving, already abundant, then reality has no choice but to align with this new state. The wealthy move through the world differently. They do not shrink themselves to fit into spaces that do not serve them. They do not seek permission to take up space, to express themselves, to desire more. They simply expect it. This expectation is not entitlement. It is a deep understanding that life responds to what you assume to be true. They assume wealth, and so wealth comes to them. They assume success, and so success follows. They assume opportunities, and so opportunities appear. Consider the way a wealthy person walks into a room. There is a presence about them, a quiet confidence. They do not need to announce their status or prove their worth. It is simply understood. This is not because they were born with wealth or because they have more resources than others. It is because they have trained themselves to embody abundance. They have conditioned their consciousness to expect the best, and so the best naturally gravitates toward them. This energy is something you can cultivate. It is not about pretending or faking it. It is about shifting your inner state so completely that the world around you must shift in response. You must begin to carry yourself as if you already have everything you desire. You must move through life with a certainty that abundance is your birthright. When you wake up in the morning, do so with the knowing that you are already wealthy. When you speak, let your words reflect confidence, assurance, and expectation. When you make decisions, make them from a place of power, not fear. Many people believe that they must first acquire money before they can feel wealthy, but this is a misunderstanding. It is not the money that creates the feeling, it is the feeling that creates the money. If you feel lack, if you feel desperation, if you feel unworthy, then no matter how much money you acquire, it will never be enough. But if you cultivate the feeling of abundance now, before any external changes occur, then money will flow to you effortlessly. This is why some people seem to attract wealth so easily while others struggle no matter how hard they work. It is not effort alone that determines financial success. It is the consciousness behind the effort. When you move from a place of abundance, opportunities seem to come out of nowhere. Doors open where before there were only walls. People are drawn to you, eager to help, eager to collaborate, eager to bring you into new circles of influence. But when you operate from a place of lack, everything feels like a struggle. You feel as though you are constantly pushing, constantly chasing, constantly trying to catch up. This is because your inner state is one of insufficiency, and the world is merely reflecting that back to you. The shift must happen first within. You must stop seeing wealth as something outside of you and begin to embody it now. Imagine for a moment that you already have everything you desire. Not just the physical manifestations, but the feelings that come with them. Feel the confidence, the security, the freedom. Let it sink into your bones. Let it become part of you. Walk through the world as if this is already your reality. Speak as if you are already successful. Make choices as if you are already abundant. When you do this consistently, the world will bend to match your inner state. The difference between those who struggle and those who thrive is not external circumstances. It is perception. It is belief. It is the energy they carry. The truly wealthy do not stress over money because they know it is always flowing. They do not cling to every dollar in fear of losing it. They trust in the circulation of wealth, knowing that whatever they give will return to them multiplied. This trust is what allows them to take bold actions, to invest in themselves, to say yes to opportunities without hesitation. If you find yourself hesitating, questioning whether you deserve abundance, worrying about whether money will come, then you are reinforcing a state of lack. You must shift your inner dialogue. You must begin to affirm your wealth, not just in words, but in the way you move through life. When you sit down at a restaurant, do not look at the prices first. Look at what you truly desire. When you make a purchase, do not do so with fear. Do so with the assurance that money is always flowing to you. When you see others succeed, do not feel envy, feel excitement, knowing that their success is proof of what is possible for you. Your mind is the foundation of your wealth. If you train it to expect abundance, abundance will come. If you train it to see opportunities, opportunities will appear. If you train it to embody success, success will manifest. But if you allow fear, doubt, and scarcity to take hold, then that is what you will experience. The choice is always yours. This shift is not about external displays of wealth. It is not about buying things to prove your status. True wealth is quiet, assured, and unshaken by appearances. It is an inner state of complete security, knowing that you are always provided for, that you are always supported, that the universe is always conspiring in your favor. This is the energy that attracts money, success, and opportunities effortlessly. You do not need to wait for circumstances to change before you adopt this mindset. You can begin now. The moment you start embodying the energy of abundance, the world will start to reflect it back to you. You do not need to force anything. You only need to align with the frequency of wealth, and it will come to you naturally. This is the secret that those who truly understand abundance have mastered. They do not chase, they attract. They do not hope, they know. They do not wait, they claim. The moment you decide that you are already wealthy, the world has no choice but to mirror that back to you. The truly wealthy understand that their time and energy are their most valuable assets. They do not waste them on things that do not serve their vision. They do not allow distractions to pull them away from their goals, nor do they entertain unnecessary drama, fear, or scarcity. Instead, they move through life with intention, focusing only on what aligns with their highest self. Their ability to set boundaries, say no when necessary, and stay committed to their vision is what allows them to continually attract wealth and abundance. To act like the super rich, you must first recognize that your time is sacred. Every moment you spend worrying, doubting, or engaging in activities that do not elevate you is a moment you could have invested in your growth. The wealthy do not entertain negativity. They do not allow themselves to dwell in environments that bring them down. They surround themselves with people who uplift, inspire, and push them toward greatness. If you wish to embody this level of abundance, you must become selective with your energy. The world is constantly pulling you in different directions, offering distractions, opinions, and beliefs that do not align with your true power. But the wealthy remain centered. They know that their success is a result of their focus, their discipline, and their ability to stay true to their vision. If you waste time engaging in conversations that drain you, relationships that diminish you, or habits that keep you stagnant, you are moving away from the wealth consciousness that you desire to embody. This is why the wealthy do not seek validation from others. They do not feel the need to prove themselves, because they are already secure in who they are. They understand that wealth is not about impressing people. It is about freedom, power, and choice. When you act like you are super rich, you do not chase approval. You do not worry about what others think. You move with certainty, knowing that you are already abundant, and that abundance will continue to flow as long as you stay aligned with your vision. One of the most important aspects of acting like the wealthy is mastering your emotions. The wealthy do not react to negativity. They do not get caught up in minor conflicts or allow their energy to be drained by trivial matters. They remain calm, composed, and focused. This is because they understand that their energy is their currency. If they waste it on things that do not serve them, they are robbing themselves of greater opportunities. The way you carry yourself determines how the world responds to you. If you carry yourself with hesitation, doubt, and insecurity, the world will mirror that back to you. But if you walk with confidence, certainty, and unwavering belief, the world will recognize your power and reflect it in the form of abundance, success, and endless opportunities. This is why the wealthy do not engage in small-minded thinking. They do not complain about problems, they focus on solutions. They do not dwell on obstacles, they find ways to overcome them. You must also learn to protect your mental space. What you consume shapes your reality. If you spend your time consuming negativity, whether through the media, conversations, or your own inner dialogue, you are reinforcing a mindset of lack. But if you fill your mind with thoughts of success, abundance, and infinite possibilities, you are aligning yourself with the wealth you desire. The super rich do not waste time worrying about things they cannot control. They focus only on what they can influence, and they pour their energy into growth. Being intentional with your words is another key aspect of this mindset. The wealthy do not speak in terms of lack. They do not say, "I can't afford this," or "I don't know how to make this happen." Instead, they ask, "How can I create this? What resources can I use? Who do I need to become to attract this into my life?" Their language is one of power, not limitation. They speak abundance into existence, and because they believe it, the universe aligns with their expectation. You must begin to act as if you are already at the level of wealth you desire. This does not mean spending recklessly or pretending to be something you are not. It means moving with confidence, making decisions from a place of abundance, and trusting that everything is always working in your favor. The wealthy do not act out of desperation. They do not beg for opportunities. They create them. They attract them through their energy, their certainty, and their ability to see opportunities where others see limitations. Imagine for a moment that you already have everything you desire. Feel it. Embody it. Walk through life with the certainty that you are already successful, already wealthy, already in possession of the freedom you crave. When you do this, you shift your frequency. You move out of a state of waiting and into a state of receiving. And the moment you align with this energy, the world will rearrange itself to match your belief. This is the power of the wealthy. They do not wait for the world to change before they act. They act as if they already have what they desire, and the world follows. They set standards for themselves and they do not lower them. They do not allow fear to dictate their actions, nor do they let temporary setbacks shake their belief. They know that wealth is an inner game, and once you master it within, it must manifest without. When you embody this state of being, people will notice. They will be drawn to your energy. They will want to be around you, to work with you, to learn from you. This is because confidence and abundance are magnetic. The wealthy do not chase, they attract. They do not force, they allow. And in doing so, they create a reality where wealth flows effortlessly to them. Your only job is to align your inner world with the abundance you seek, to protect your energy, to focus only on what elevates you, to refuse to engage in anything that does not serve your highest vision. The moment you commit to this way of being, you will begin to see the world shift in your favor. Opportunities will arise, money will flow, success will feel effortless, not because you are chasing it, but because you have finally become it. The truly wealthy understand that their time and energy are their most valuable assets. They do not waste them on things that do not serve their vision. They do not allow distractions to pull them away from their goals, nor do they entertain unnecessary drama, fear, or scarcity. Instead, they move through life with intention, focusing only on what aligns with their highest self. Their ability to set boundaries, say no when necessary, and stay committed to their vision is what allows them to continually attract wealth and abundance. To act like the super rich, you must first recognize that your time is sacred. Every moment you spend worrying, doubting, or engaging in activities that do not elevate you is a moment you could have invested in your growth. The wealthy do not entertain negativity. They do not allow themselves to dwell in environments that bring them down. They surround themselves with people who uplift, inspire, and push them toward greatness. If you wish to embody this level of abundance, you must become selective with your energy. The world is constantly pulling you in different directions, offering distractions, opinions, and beliefs that do not align with your true power. But the wealthy remain centered. They know that their success is a result of their focus, their discipline, and their ability to stay true to their vision. If you waste time engaging in conversations that drain you, relationships that diminish you, or habits that keep you stagnant, you are moving away from the wealth consciousness that you desire to embody. This is why the wealthy do not seek validation from others. They do not feel the need to prove themselves because they are already secure in who they are. They understand that wealth is not about impressing people. It is about freedom, power, and choice. When you act like you are super rich, you do not chase approval. You do not worry about what others think. You move with certainty, knowing that you are already abundant and that abundance will continue to flow as long as you stay aligned with your vision. One of the most important aspects of acting like the wealthy is mastering your emotions. The wealthy do not react to negativity. They do not get caught up in minor conflicts or allow their energy to be drained by trivial matters. They remain calm, composed, and focused. This is because they understand that their energy is their currency. If they waste it on things that do not serve them, they are robbing themselves of greater opportunities. The way you carry yourself determines how the world responds to you. If you carry yourself with hesitation, doubt, and insecurity, the world will mirror that back to you. But if you walk with confidence, certainty, and unwavering belief, the world will recognize your power and reflect it in the form of abundance, success, and endless opportunities. This is why the wealthy do not engage in small-minded thinking. They do not complain about problems. They focus on solutions. They do not dwell on obstacles. They find ways to overcome them. You must also learn to protect your mental space. What you consume shapes your reality. If you spend your time consuming negativity, whether through the media, conversations, or your own inner dialogue, you are reinforcing a mindset of lack. But if you fill your mind with thoughts of success, abundance, and infinite possibilities, you are aligning yourself with the wealth you desire. The super rich do not waste time worrying about things they cannot control. They focus only on what they can influence, and they pour their energy into growth. Being intentional with your words is another key aspect of this mindset. The wealthy do not speak in terms of lack. They do not say, "I can't afford this," or "I don't know how to make this happen." Instead, they ask, "How can I create this? What resources can I use? Who do I need to become to attract this into my life?" Their language is one of power, not limitation. They speak abundance into existence, and because they believe it, the universe aligns with their expectation. You must begin to act as if you are already at the level of wealth you desire. This does not mean spending recklessly or pretending to be something you are not. It means moving with confidence, making decisions from a place of abundance, and trusting that everything is always working in your favor. The wealthy do not act out of desperation. They do not beg for opportunities. They create them. They attract them through their energy, their certainty, and their ability to see opportunities where others see limitations. Imagine for a moment that you already have everything you desire. Feel it, embody it, walk through life with the certainty that you are already successful, already wealthy, already in possession of the freedom you crave. When you do this, you shift your frequency. You move out of a state of waiting and into a state of receiving. And the moment you align with this energy, the world will rearrange itself to match your belief. This is the power of the wealthy. They do not wait for the world to change before they act. They act as if they already have what they desire, and the world follows. They set standards for themselves, and they do not lower them. They do not allow fear to dictate their actions, nor do they let temporary setbacks shake their belief. They know that wealth is an inner game, and once you master it within, it must manifest without. When you embody this state of being, people will notice. They will be drawn to your energy. They will want to be around you, to work with you, to learn from you. This is because confidence and abundance are magnetic. The wealthy do not chase, they attract. They do not force, they allow. And in doing so, they create a reality where wealth flows effortlessly to them. Your only job is to align your inner world with the abundance you seek, to protect your energy, to focus only on what elevates you, to refuse to engage in anything that does not serve your highest vision. The moment you commit to this way of being, you will begin to see the world shift in your favor. Opportunities will arise, money will flow, success will feel effortless, not because you are chasing it, but because you have finally become it. The wealthy move through life with a sense of clarity and purpose. They are not easily swayed by distractions or unnecessary commitments that do not align with their vision. Their time and energy are reserved for things that contribute to their growth, expansion, and ultimate fulfillment. They do not waste their mental space on trivial matters, nor do they allow external circumstances to dictate their emotions. This is because they understand that their state of mind is their most valuable asset. Their ability to remain focused and unbothered by external noise is what allows them to continue attracting abundance. When you observe the truly wealthy, you will notice a common trait among them. They do not seek validation. They do not feel the need to prove themselves to others because they are secure in who they are. They know that wealth is not about showing off or seeking approval. It is about freedom, choice, and power over one's own life. The need for validation is a distraction, a game of proving oneself to people who often do not matter in the grand scheme of things. When you seek validation, you are handing over your power. You are making your sense of worth dependent on the opinions of others, and in doing so, you weaken your ability to create freely. The wealthy do not operate this way. They move in silence, confident in their direction, detached from external judgment. This ability to move in silence is a crucial aspect of their success. They do not announce every move they make. They do not broadcast their plans to the world before they have executed them. They understand that energy flows where attention goes, and by keeping their focus inward, they maintain their creative power. There is no need to seek applause, no need to explain themselves. They simply do what needs to be done. And in doing so, they preserve their energy for what truly matters. This is why you will rarely see the super rich engaging in unnecessary drama or reacting emotionally to setbacks. They do not entertain negativity because they know that every moment spent on something unproductive is a moment taken away from their vision. They do not waste their energy on arguments, gossip, or small-minded conversations. They understand that their thoughts shape their reality, and they refuse to allow negativity to take root in their mind. When a challenge arises, they do not complain, they strategize. They ask themselves how they can turn obstacles into opportunities. This is the mindset that keeps them moving forward, always expanding, always growing. Time is the most valuable asset for the wealthy, and they guard it fiercely. They do not engage in activities that do not serve their highest self. They do not say yes out of obligation or guilt. They say yes only to what aligns with their purpose. This is a form of discipline that many do not possess, but it is necessary for true success. Saying yes to everything means scattering your energy, giving away your focus, and diluting your power. The wealthy are selective. They understand that every commitment must serve a purpose. They do not waste time on things that do not bring them closer to their goals. This also applies to the people they allow into their lives. The wealthy do not surround themselves with individuals who drain their energy. They do not entertain relationships that are built on insecurity, drama, or lack. They seek out people who inspire them, challenge them, and contribute to their growth. They know that energy is contagious, and being around the wrong people can pull them into a lower state of mind. They are intentional about their inner circle, choosing only those who uplift and align with their vision. Another key aspect of this mindset is the ability to say no without guilt. The wealthy do not feel the need to explain themselves when they decline something that does not serve them. They do not justify their decisions. They move with certainty, knowing that their time and energy are precious. Saying no is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that you value yourself and your time too much to engage in anything that does not serve you. Those who struggle with saying no often find themselves overwhelmed, drained, and scattered. But those who master it experience freedom, clarity, and power over their own lives. Energy management goes beyond just avoiding negativity. It also means being conscious of what you consume. The wealthy are careful about what they allow into their mind. They do not waste hours consuming content that does not elevate them. They do not fill their thoughts with fear, scarcity, or doubt. They choose to consume only what aligns with abundance, success, and growth. They understand that the mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you plant thoughts of limitation, you will experience limitation. But if you plant thoughts of prosperity, success, and infinite potential, you will see these things reflected in your reality. This also applies to how they speak. The wealthy do not use words carelessly. They do not affirm lack, limitation, or struggle. They speak with power, with certainty, with the understanding that their words create their world. They do not say, "I can't afford this." Instead, they ask, "How can I create this?" They do not say, "I don't know how." They say, "I will figure it out." Their language reflects their belief in abundance, and because they speak from a place of certainty, their reality aligns with their words. Acting like the super rich means embodying this level of confidence. It means moving with certainty, trusting that everything is always working in your favor. It means not reacting to negativity, not allowing the opinions of others to dictate your path, and not wasting your energy on things that do not serve you. It means being intentional with your focus, guarding your time, and making choices from a place of power, not obligation. This is how the wealthy move through life. They do not chase, they attract. They do not react, they create. They do not explain, they act. They do not seek approval, they know who they are. They do not waste energy on things that do not serve them. They focus only on what expands their world. And because they operate in this way, abundance flows effortlessly to them. There is a quiet power in those who carry themselves with confidence. It is not the loud, boastful kind that seeks attention, nor is it an arrogance that demands validation. It is an unshakable inner knowing, a certainty that one is worthy of all the good things life has to offer. The wealthy understand this, for they do not shrink themselves to fit in, nor do they doubt their place in the world. They walk with assurance, speak with conviction, and move through life as if they already have everything they desire, and in doing so, the world responds to them accordingly. The way one presents themselves to the world is a direct reflection of how they see themselves. A person who doubts their own worth will hesitate, second guess, and carry an energy of uncertainty. They will look around for permission, waiting for someone else to affirm their value. But a person who believes in their own power does not seek approval. They do not wait for permission. They assume the position of someone who is already worthy, already successful, already abundant. This assumption changes everything, for the world treats you as you believe yourself to be. Those who are truly wealthy do not operate from a place of lack. They do not walk into a room feeling small, hoping to be noticed. Instead, they embody the presence of someone who belongs. They do not rush to prove themselves, nor do they fill the silence with nervous chatter. They speak with intention, knowing that their words carry weight. They move with a calm certainty, never feeling the need to convince others of their value. And because they do this, they naturally command respect. There is no need for desperation when one already knows their worth. The wealthy understand that neediness repels, while self-assurance attracts. They do not chase opportunities, friendships, or relationships. They allow these things to flow to them because they trust in their own magnetism. When one truly embodies the energy of wealth, abundance must follow. It is not about external possessions. It is about an internal state of being. A person who feels rich, who moves as if they already have all they need, will naturally attract experiences that reflect this belief. This is why posture, tone of voice, and presence matter. The way one carries themselves sends a message before they even speak. A person who slouches, who avoids eye contact, who hesitates before speaking, communicates insecurity. But a person who stands tall, who looks people in the eye, who speaks clearly and with confidence, commands attention without trying. It is not about arrogance or dominance. It is about quiet assurance. It is about the certainty that one is deserving of respect, success, and abundance. Dressing well is another reflection of this energy. The wealthy do not dress to impress others. They dress to reflect their own self-respect. Their clothing is not about price tags or designer labels. It is about quality, fit, and attention to detail. They understand that how they present themselves affects how they feel and how they are perceived. A well-dressed person moves differently, speaks differently, carries themselves with a different energy. It is not about vanity. It is about embodying the reality one wishes to create. Beyond appearance, there is an aura that surrounds those who truly believe in their own worth. They do not over-apologize, they do not downplay their achievements, and they do not shrink to make others comfortable. They own their space. They take up room without fear, without hesitation. They understand that they have just as much right to be here as anyone else. They do not compare themselves to others, for they know that their own path is unique. They do not envy, because they know that what is meant for them cannot be taken away. They also understand the power of their voice. The wealthy do not rush to fill silence with meaningless words. They do not speak just to be heard. They choose their words wisely, knowing that their speech carries energy. They do not gossip, complain, or speak of limitations. They speak of possibilities, solutions, and visions of the future. They know that what they affirm with their words will become their reality. Every action they take is intentional. They do not fidget, they do not move anxiously, they do not rush. They act as though time is on their side, as though they are exactly where they need to be. This sense of ease is magnetic. When a person moves as if everything is working in their favor, it begins to do just that. Life conforms to the energy one puts out. When the wealthy enter a room, they do not seek to prove their worth, they assume it. They do not need to announce their success or seek validation from others. They simply exist in a state of confidence, and the world mirrors that confidence back to them. They trust that their presence alone is enough. And because they believe this, it becomes true. The secret is not in waiting until wealth arrives to feel wealthy. The secret is in embodying that energy now. The way one walks, talks, dresses, and carries themselves is a signal to the universe. A person who acts rich, who moves as though they already have all they need, will soon find their external reality shifting to match. It is never about waiting for wealth to come. It is about stepping into the identity of one who already has it. This is the law of assumption at work. The moment one decides to be something, the world begins to shift in their favor. It is not about pretending or forcing, it is about knowing. It is about stepping into the feeling of wealth, not as something distant, but as something already present. The energy of wealth is calm, certain, and unbothered. It does not grasp or beg or chase. It simply is. And when one aligns with that energy, abundance flows effortlessly. Wealth is not about numbers in a bank account, nor is it about the accumulation of material possessions. True wealth is a state of mind, a way of being, an unshakable awareness that abundance is always flowing toward you. The truly rich do not operate from a place of scarcity, nor do they fear losing what they have, because they understand that money is simply an extension of their consciousness. It is not something to be hoarded, clung to, or feared. It is something to be circulated, to be used with wisdom and ease. The wealthy know that money, like energy, must flow freely. For the moment one begins to fear its loss, they block the very abundance they seek to maintain. This is why those who have mastered the art of wealth move through life with a sense of detachment. They do not operate from desperation, nor do they place their self-worth in external things. They understand that money is merely a tool, a symbol, an expression of an internal state. They do not chase after it, they attract it. And they do so effortlessly because they trust in their own ability to create, to receive, and to give. They are not tight-fisted with their resources, nor do they shrink in fear when it is time to invest. Instead, they understand that money must be used wisely and fearlessly, for it is only when one is willing to give that they truly receive. There is a certain energy that comes with generosity. Those who are truly wealthy do not hesitate when it comes to sharing their abundance. They do not cling to every dollar, nor do they allow fear to dictate their financial decisions. They give freely, knowing that in doing so they align themselves with the very flow of abundance. This is not to say that they give irresponsibly, nor do they seek validation through their generosity. They simply understand that when they operate from a place of overflow, more is always on its way. This is why they do not stress over bills, nor do they waste their energy worrying about what they might lose. They understand that money is a reflection of their inner world, and as long as they maintain a consciousness of wealth, there is nothing to fear. This is why they do not hesitate when opportunities arise. They do not second-guess themselves, nor do they allow fear to dictate their actions. They trust in their ability to create, to invest wisely, to see opportunities where others see obstacles. They do not approach financial decisions from a place of lack, for they know that fear only serves to block the very abundance they seek. Instead, they move with confidence, knowing that money is simply a byproduct of their state of being. They do not see it as something separate from themselves. It is an extension of their energy, a mirror of their beliefs. The way one treats money reveals everything about their relationship with abundance. Those who fear spending, who hoard out of a sense of lack, who cling to every dollar as if it is their last, are affirming that they do not trust in the continuous flow of wealth. They are sending a message to the universe that they believe in scarcity, and in doing so they attract more of it. But those who trust in their own ability to create, who move with certainty, who invest with wisdom and faith, always find that money returns to them in unexpected ways. The wealthy do not waste energy worrying about where the next dollar will come from. They assume it is always on its way, and because they assume it, it becomes their reality. They do not waste mental energy on fear or doubt, for they know that these states only serve to repel what they desire. Instead, they cultivate a sense of peace, a knowing that money is always moving toward them, never away from them. This unshakable certainty is the key to maintaining wealth, for it is not external circumstances that determine financial success. It is the internal state of being. This is why they carry themselves with ease, with grace, with a sense of quiet confidence. They do not need to prove their wealth, nor do they seek validation through material possessions. They do not flaunt what they have, nor do they make their financial success the center of their identity. Instead, they live in a state of knowing. They understand that wealth is not something to be chased. It is something to be aligned with. An alignment comes not through struggle, but through a shift in consciousness. The wealthy understand that the mind is the true source of abundance. They know that money is simply a reflection of their beliefs, their assumptions, their expectations. They do not allow fear to dictate their financial reality, nor do they engage in limiting thoughts about what is possible. They do not dwell on losses, nor do they allow setbacks to shake their faith. They see every experience as an opportunity, every challenge as a stepping stone, every moment as another chance to affirm their alignment with prosperity. They do not focus on what they lack, nor do they give energy to thoughts of limitation. Instead, they focus on expansion, on possibility, on the knowing that there is always more than enough. This is why they do not engage in conversations about scarcity, nor do they allow the fears of others to influence their own beliefs. They protect their minds fiercely, for they know that what they entertain in thought will soon manifest in reality. Those who are truly wealthy are not bound by circumstances. They do not allow external events to dictate their state of being. They remain calm in financial storms, for they know that no situation is permanent. They trust in their ability to rebuild, to create, to attract, and because of this trust, they always rise. They do not dwell on past mistakes, nor do they carry regret about financial decisions. They learn, they adapt, they move forward with confidence, knowing that abundance is always available to those who believe in it. They also understand the importance of detachment. They do not cling to money, nor do they allow it to define them. They enjoy what they have, but they are not enslaved by it. They know that true wealth is freedom, the ability to move through life without fear, without desperation, without limitation. And because they live in this state of freedom, life continues to reflect that back to them. The truly rich do not seek wealth, they embody it. They do not chase money, they become the kind of person that money is naturally drawn to. They do not ask whether they will be successful, they assume it. And because they assume it, it becomes inevitable. Their energy is one of certainty, of ease, of unshakable confidence. They move as if they already have all they need, and because they do this, they attract more than they could have ever imagined. It is not about numbers, nor is it about possessions. It is about energy. The wealthy understand that money is simply a reflection of who they are being, and so they focus not on getting more, but on becoming more. They cultivate the mindset, the habits, the beliefs that align with abundance. And because they do this, wealth is never something they have to chase. It is something that flows to them, naturally, effortlessly, inevitably. There is a way of being that moves through the world untouched by limitation, a way of seeing that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. It is not about wealth in the way the world understands it, not about bank accounts or possessions, but about embodying the consciousness of abundance. The truly rich are not those who chase after things, but those who assume the state of having. They do not strive, they do not beg, they do not wait for circumstances to change. They know they are already it. To move through the world like the rich, one must first understand that wealth is not something to be acquired, but something to be claimed within. The mind, if left undirected, will cling to appearances, to the evidence of the senses, to the illusion of lack and struggle. But the one who walks in dominion knows that the outer world is only a reflection of the inner state. There is no need to chase, for what is felt as real within must externalize itself in due time. Imagine for a moment what it feels like to already possess all that you desire, not in some distant future, not as something to be worked toward, but as a present reality. Feel the ease, the confidence, the deep assurance that everything is already yours. The rich do not approach life with desperation. They do not question if they will be provided for. They do not look to others for permission to receive. They walk with the certainty that they are the source of their own experience. The world may present images of scarcity, may whisper doubts and fears, but these are only tests of faith. The one who understands the nature of creation does not react to shadows, does not lower themselves to the level of doubt. They remain fixed in their vision, unmoved by the tides of circumstance. Wealth is a state of being, an inner knowing that radiates outward, drawing to itself everything in alignment with its vibration. To move through the world like the rich is to walk as though every door is already open, as though every opportunity has already been given. It is to carry oneself with the unshakable awareness that there is nothing to seek, nothing to force, only a reality to accept. The feeling of already having is the secret. The assumption of already being is the key. When this is mastered, the world bends, and the riches of life flow effortlessly into one's hands. Wealth is not something external, something to be pursued, acquired, or hoarded. It is not measured by the figures in a bank account or the possessions one holds. Wealth is a state of being, an internal condition that, when assumed, inevitably manifests in the outer world. The truly rich are not those who endlessly strive, but those who simply know they are. They carry within them a deep sense of abundance that is untouched by circumstance, independent of conditions. This is the great secret. True wealth is not created through effort, but through the assumption of already having. The mind is the starting point of every experience. If one believes they are in lack, if they feel poor, struggle will follow them like a shadow. The world reflects the inner state with perfect fidelity, never failing to bring forth the evidence of what one truly believes to be real. Many look at their empty pockets, their unpaid bills, their unfulfilled desires and say, "I have nothing." But this is the mistake. To acknowledge lack is to perpetuate it. To declare oneself without is to ensure that the world continues to affirm that belief. Those who move through the world as though they already have everything find in time that everything comes to them effortlessly. To live in wealth is to live in the assumption of security, confidence, and peace. The rich do not wonder if they will be provided for. They do not question whether opportunities will arise. They do not entertain thoughts of scarcity because they know that whatever they need will always be supplied. Their lives are not dictated by fear, but by certainty. This certainty does not come from external evidence. It comes from within. It is the unwavering knowing that their reality is shaped by their own consciousness, that life will always conform to the state they assume to be true. There is a fundamental difference between those who struggle and those who thrive. It is not intelligence, luck, or opportunity that separates them. It is not effort or hard work that determines their experience. It is the state they occupy. Those who live in poverty, even if given wealth, will often find a way to lose it. They will sabotage their own success, make decisions that lead them back to where they started, because they have not changed their inner state. Conversely, those who are truly wealthy in mind can lose everything and regain it effortlessly. It is not what they have, but who they are that determines their reality. This is why affirming wealth, living in the consciousness of already having, is the only true path to abundance. The external world is only a mirror, reflecting back whatever is impressed upon it. The one who deeply believes they are rich will see that belief confirmed in their experience. The one who lives in the fear of lack will see that fear materialize over and over again. It is never the world that must change first, but the mind. Many believe they must first acquire riches before they can feel wealthy, but this is an illusion. The feeling must come first. One must assume the state of already having, must feel the security, the ease, the confidence that comes with abundance before it can materialize in the world. To wait for the external world to confirm wealth before one feels wealthy is to live in a perpetual state of lack. The truth is that wealth is always available, always present, waiting only for one to step into it. To embody wealth is to move through the world with a quiet assurance. It is to carry oneself with grace, to speak with authority, to walk as though every step is leading to greater abundance. The rich are not desperate. They do not scramble for opportunities or grasp at what they fear may be lost. They live in the unwavering conviction that all things are already theirs. This is not arrogance, but a deep inner knowing. It is the state of being that naturally draws all good things into one's life. To feel wealthy is to be wealthy. The external world is only a reflection, a delayed echo of the inner assumption. One cannot worry about money and expect abundance. One cannot entertain fears of lack and hope to experience prosperity. The only way to truly transform one's reality is to first transform one's state of being. The assumption of wealth, when truly felt, when deeply lived, must bring forth its physical equivalent. This is law, as certain as the rising of the sun. The one who understands this moves through life with ease. They do not react to setbacks, do not collapse in the face of challenges, do not waver when circumstances appear to contradict their inner knowing. They remain steadfast, knowing that all things must shift to align with their state of consciousness. They do not beg, they do not plead, they do not fear, because they know they already have everything. They see abundance in every moment, in every opportunity, in every interaction. They expect prosperity, and so prosperity comes. They live in the feeling of already having, and so the world must conform to that assumption. It is not wealth that creates security, it is the feeling of security that creates wealth. It is not money that brings confidence. It is confidence that attracts money. The world does not give first, it responds. And it responds with absolute precision to the state one occupies. Those who seek to change their outer reality without first changing their inner state will find themselves struggling against the tide. But those who first assume the feeling of already having will find that the world bends effortlessly in their favor. To be rich is not to possess, but to embody. It is not to acquire, but to assume. The mind is the only place where wealth is created, and once it is established there, it must express itself in the world. This is why true wealth can never be taken away, why it does not depend on circumstances, why it is not subject to external forces. It is a state of being, and once assumed, it becomes an unshakable foundation upon which life is built. The path to wealth is not through striving, but through knowing. It is not through effort, but through alignment. The moment one stops seeking and starts assuming, stops wishing and starts knowing, the transformation begins. The moment one steps into the state of already having, the world must follow. Wealth is not an external thing to be gained. It is an inner reality to be claimed. What is seen in the world is nothing more than a reflection of what is held within. Every experience, every circumstance, every event is a direct outpicturing of consciousness. The outer world is not separate from the inner world, but is its perfect mirror, shaped by the assumptions that are deeply believed to be true. There is no randomness in life, no accidents, no luck. Only the law of assumption in motion. Whatever is assumed with feeling, whatever is persistently held in mind must harden into fact. To assume something is not merely to think it or wish for it. It is to accept it as real, to embody the feeling of its truth, to walk as though it already exists. Most people allow their senses to dictate their assumptions. They look at what is and believe that it is all there is. They allow their bank accounts, their relationships, their health, their circumstances to define what they believe to be possible. But the one who understands the nature of assumption knows that the senses only show the past. They reflect previous thoughts, previous assumptions, previous states of being. They are not indicators of what is possible, but only of what has been accepted up until this point. To change the outer world, one must first change the assumption that created it. The assumption of already having is the key to creation. When one assumes that they already possess something, when they accept it as real, without needing to see it with their eyes, the world must shift to reflect that assumption. This is not wishful thinking, nor is it a game of pretending. It is the recognition of a fundamental truth. Consciousness creates reality. Many struggle because they believe they must first see results before they can believe in them. They think they must first receive wealth before they can feel wealthy, first find love before they can feel loved, first experience success before they can feel successful. But this is the great mistake. The order is not to see and then believe. It is to believe and then see. The assumption must come first. Feeling must precede experience. The world cannot give to those who wait to see. It can only respond to those who have already accepted their desires as reality within. To assume means to take something upon oneself, to claim it as one's own. When one assumes wealth, they no longer identify with lack. When one assumes love, they no longer seek it from others. When one assumes success, they no longer doubt whether they are capable. The assumption of already having removes all sense of striving, all sense of needing, all sense of waiting. It shifts one from a state of lack to a state of possession, and the world must confirm that possession in physical form. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret to assumption. It is not enough to simply affirm something with words or to repeat statements without belief. One must feel the reality of what they claim. They must step into the experience mentally, dwell in it, move through life as though it is already true. If one desires wealth, they must feel the security, the ease, the confidence that comes with it. If one desires love, they must feel the warmth, the connection, the certainty of already being loved. If one desires health, they must feel the vitality, the energy, the wholeness that health brings. The assumption must be lived in mind before it can be lived in the world. The mind does not know the difference between what is imagined and what is physically experienced. It only knows what is impressed upon it with feeling. When one consistently assumes a state, when they return to it again and again, when they let it fill their thoughts, emotions, and reactions, it becomes their reality. The subconscious mind takes every deeply held assumption and brings it to life. It does not argue, it does not question, it does not resist. It simply accepts whatever it is given and expresses it outwardly. This is why those who live in worry find more to worry about. This is why those who expect disappointment continue to experience it. This is why those who assume they are unlucky always find misfortune. The mind does not judge. It simply produces whatever is impressed upon it. The assumption of already having must be cultivated with the same certainty as one assumes their own identity. There is no question in the mind of a person about who they are. They do not wake up wondering whether they are themselves. They do not question whether their name belongs to them, whether their past experiences happened. They accept these things without effort because they have been assumed so deeply that they are automatic. The same level of certainty must be applied to the assumption of already having. Those who move through life with the assumption of abundance are never in lack. They do not entertain thoughts of scarcity because they do not identify with it. They do not look at what is missing but at what is already theirs in consciousness. They know that the world is only catching up to their inner state. They walk with a quiet confidence, deep assurance that everything is unfolding perfectly. There is no desperation, no grasping, no chasing. They live in the expectation of receiving, and so they do. The moment one assumes they already have, everything changes. The way they speak, the way they carry themselves, the way they react to life is transformed. They no longer seek approval because they already feel valued. They no longer fear the future because they already know it is secure. They no longer need to struggle because they have stepped into the state of ease. This shift in consciousness is the only change that is ever needed. The world will follow. Most spend their lives reacting to what is, reinforcing the very conditions they wish to escape. They wait for circumstances to improve before they allow themselves to feel better. But the one who understands the power of assumption takes control. They do not wait for evidence. They create it from within. They do not beg for change. They assume the change has already happened. They do not wish for things to be different. They claim them as already done. And because assumption creates reality, the world must respond accordingly. The process is simple but requires faith. It requires the willingness to believe in what is unseen, to persist in an assumption even when the senses suggest otherwise. It requires a commitment to live from the end, to embody the feeling of already having, to refuse to entertain doubts and contradictions. And when this is done with conviction, the result is inevitable. The assumption of already having brings forth the physical experience of having. It cannot fail, for it is law. The greatest power one possesses is the ability to assume, the ability to take hold of an inner reality and live in it as though it is already true. This is the secret to every great achievement, every manifestation, every transformation. It is not effort, struggle, or external action that creates change. It is the quiet, unwavering certainty that what is assumed must become real. And when this truth is fully embraced, life itself becomes effortless. Money does not come to those who chase it with desperation, nor does it flow to those who see it as something separate from themselves. Wealth is not about accumulating numbers in a bank account, but about embodying a state of abundance. The world reflects what is held within, and if one believes that wealth is hard to attain, that belief will manifest as struggle and scarcity. If one believes that money is elusive, it will always seem just out of reach. But if one shifts their assumption, if they see themselves as already possessing abundance, money will flow to them effortlessly, as if by natural law. The mistake most make is seeing money as something external, something they must work endlessly for, something that only comes with effort and struggle. They believe that financial success is reserved for the lucky few, the privileged, or those who inherit it. But money, like everything else, is a product of consciousness. It is not something that exists outside of one's own assumption. Those who are wealthy are not simply lucky, they live in a state of wealth. They assume it as natural, as ordinary, as their birthright. And because they assume it, the world shapes itself to reflect that assumption. One does not receive wealth by wishing for it, by envying those who have it, or by working harder in frustration. One receives wealth by becoming it in consciousness first. This means releasing every thought of lack, every belief in limitation, every assumption that money is difficult to attain. It means no longer reacting to the numbers in a bank account as if they define financial reality. They do not. They only reflect past states of mind. If one continues to react with fear, worry, or frustration, they reinforce the very conditions they wish to escape. But if one begins to assume wealth as their reality, their external circumstances must shift to match. To live as if money is already abundant is not about reckless spending or pretending. It is about the deep inner certainty that wealth is always present, that resources are always available, that opportunities are always unfolding. It is about thinking, speaking, and acting from the knowing that money is not something to be feared or chased, but something that flows naturally when one aligns with it. When someone assumes wealth, their entire relationship with money changes. They no longer treat it as a scarce resource, but as an ever-present energy that moves through them. They do not hoard it in fear, nor do they spend it in desperation. They handle it with ease, knowing that more is always on its way. This mindset alone transforms how money flows. A person who assumes abundance does not hesitate in the presence of opportunities. They trust in their ability to receive, and because they trust, they do. Most live in the state of, I do not have enough. They worry about bills, they stress over expenses, they fear the future. And by doing so, they continue to create experiences that confirm those fears. Every thought of lack, every moment of doubt, every belief in financial struggle only deepens the condition. The mind, without judgment, manifests what is most impressed upon it. The one who sees money as difficult will continue to struggle. The one who sees wealth as natural will continue to receive. Changing this state requires a shift in self-concept. It is not about working harder or finding new strategies. It is about becoming the person who naturally experiences financial ease. This means moving through the world as if money is already abundant. It means releasing the anxiety, the doubt, the need to constantly check balances and worry over figures. It means embodying the feeling of financial security, feeling the relief, the peace, the confidence that comes with it. This feeling must become dominant, and when it does, the external world will rearrange itself accordingly. Many believe that rich people think about money all the time, but this is not true. The wealthy do not obsess over money. They assume it is always there. They are not concerned about where the next dollar will come from because they do not question whether it will come at all. They operate from a different state of being. They trust in the flow, in their ability to attract more, in the certainty that wealth is a constant in their lives. And because they believe this, it is their reality. The individual who shifts their assumption to one of financial abundance will find that opportunities begin to appear where they were once invisible. Ideas will come with clarity, doors will open without force, connections will be made effortlessly. The world does not withhold wealth from anyone, it only reflects the beliefs held about it. If one believes that money must be struggled for, then struggle will be their experience. If one believes that money comes with ease, then ease will be their experience. To assume wealth is to step into a new identity. It is to speak with confidence, to act with certainty, to carry oneself with the quiet assurance of someone who knows that all is already well. It is not about boasting, nor is it about arrogance. It is about knowing deep within that financial well-being is the natural state. When this becomes the dominant belief, everything in life aligns to confirm it. One does not need to see immediate evidence to hold this assumption. The senses may try to contradict it at first. The bank account may not yet reflect the inner shift, but those who persist in their assumption, who refuse to be swayed by temporary appearances, will see the world mold itself to their belief. This is the great secret that most overlook. They wait for proof before they believe, not realizing that belief is the very thing that creates proof. The wealthiest individuals are not those who merely inherit money, but those who inherit a wealthy mindset. Some who inherit fortunes lose them because they never assume the consciousness of wealth. Others rise from nothing because they assume abundance before it is seen. It is not circumstances that determine financial reality, it is the state of mind. The shift into wealth is simple but requires discipline. It requires releasing old stories of lack, refusing to dwell on financial worries, and embracing the feeling of financial security even before the physical evidence appears. It requires moving through the world with a quiet certainty that money is always flowing, that abundance is always present, that wealth is not something to be earned, but something to be aligned with. This shift does not mean one stops taking action, but it changes the nature of action. Instead of acting from fear or desperation, one acts from inspiration and confidence. Instead of forcing opportunities, one attracts them effortlessly. Instead of fearing loss, one expects gain. This is the power of assumption. Money is not outside of oneself. It is not something that must be fought for or chased. It is a reflection of one's inner state, a mirror of what is assumed to be true. When one steps into the consciousness of wealth, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. The assumption of financial abundance is the key, and those who embody it will find that the world bends to meet their belief. Everything in life moves according to belief, and money is no exception. The ones who appear wealthy are not simply those who have money. They are those who have stepped into a state where money naturally comes to them. The way they move through the world, the way they speak, the way they carry themselves, all of it is an extension of their inner reality. They do not live in hesitation. They do not act from fear. They do not beg for opportunities or feel unworthy of abundance. They assume, without question, that wealth belongs to them, that success is their natural state, that the world is working in their favor, and because they assume it, they live it. Many misunderstand wealth as something that comes after success, as if money is a reward for effort. But money does not respond to effort alone, it responds to state. It is drawn to those who see themselves as already having it, those who walk with a quiet confidence, those who expect success rather than wish for it. The assumption of wealth does not mean reckless spending or pretending to be something one is not. It means moving through the world with certainty, trusting that money will always appear when needed, believing in one's own ability to attract and multiply it. Refusing to entertain the idea that wealth is something distant or difficult. There is a reason that the wealthy seem to move effortlessly while others struggle to grasp even the smallest opportunities. The wealthy do not hesitate. They do not question whether they deserve an opportunity. They assume they do. They do not fear loss. They trust in gain. They do not let rejection shake their belief in themselves. The difference is not in intelligence, luck, or even background. It is in the way they carry themselves. They exude a presence that commands attention, not because they seek approval, but because they believe in their own value. The world responds accordingly. Most people wait for external confirmation before they allow themselves to feel successful. They wait for money to appear before they feel wealthy. They wait for an opportunity before they feel confident. But waiting is the opposite of creating. The ones who succeed do not wait. They assume. They do not wait for wealth to prove itself. They move as if it is already theirs. This does not mean arrogance or entitlement. It means a deep inner knowing, a quiet expectation that what is needed will always arrive. This is the difference between those who struggle and those who thrive. One can observe this difference in even the smallest interactions. Those who struggle with money tend to move through the world with hesitation. They check prices anxiously. They count every expense with worry. They doubt their ability to afford what they desire. They shrink themselves in conversations. They avoid opportunities out of fear. They second-guess their worth. And in doing so, they reaffirm a state of lack. They move as if they are undeserving, and the world reflects that assumption back to them. Contrast this with those who assume wealth. They do not fear the cost of things, not because they are reckless, but because they trust in their ability to generate more. They do not see money as something that limits them, but as something that serves them. They speak with certainty, not because they are forcing confidence, but because they truly believe in their own value. They do not shy away from opportunities, they embrace them. They do not ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "How can I align with this?" This shift in perspective changes everything. To move through the world as if wealth is already yours means embodying a new state of mind. It means releasing every thought of struggle, every belief in limitation, every habit of hesitating in the face of opportunity. It means carrying oneself with the assurance that money flows where it is welcome, where it is expected, where it is not feared. The ones who hold on to money too tightly, who are afraid to spend, who operate from scarcity, these are the ones who find that money escapes them. But the ones who trust, who move with certainty, who expect abundance, these are the ones who find that money flows to them with ease. There is no luck involved in this process. The world responds to states of being, and those who assume abundance create it. The ones who doubt it, question it, hesitate in the face of it, they remain stuck in the cycle of lack. This is why two people can be given the same opportunity, yet one will thrive while the other struggles. The difference is not in external circumstances, but in internal state. The shift into abundance does not require immediate wealth, it requires immediate certainty. It requires one to begin moving as if wealth is already a given, as if success is already unfolding, as if opportunities are already present. This is not about reckless behavior, but about inner confidence. It is about removing fear from the equation. The moment one stops fearing money, stops chasing it with desperation, stops treating it as something elusive, the moment one begins to expect wealth as their natural state, that is the moment the world begins to align in their favor. Hesitation is the enemy of wealth. The one who hesitates when an opportunity arises, who questions whether they deserve abundance, who fears making the wrong choice, this is the one who remains stuck. The wealthy move with decisiveness. They trust their ability to make choices. They do not fear failure because they do not define themselves by it. If something does not work, they adjust, they refine, they move forward. But they do not stop. They do not let setbacks shake their identity. They do not dwell in fear. Most people are ruled by their past experiences. They allow past failures to define their future. They assume that because money has been difficult in the past, it will be difficult in the future. They believe that because they have struggled, they will continue to struggle. But the past has no power except the power one gives it. The wealthy are not bound by the past. They live in the present assumption of success. They decide in this moment that wealth is their reality. And because they decide it, it becomes so. The way one moves through the world signals to life what they believe about themselves. The person who moves with doubt, with hesitation, with a constant fear of loss, This person tells the world that they do not trust in their own abundance, and the world responds by withholding. But the person who moves with certainty, who does not question their own value, who does not fear lack, this person tells the world that they are ready to receive, and the world responds by giving. Everything comes down to assumption. If one assumes wealth is difficult, it will be. If one assumes money is scarce, it will be. If one assumes that success is reserved for others, it will be. But if one assumes that wealth is their birthright, that abundance flows to them, that opportunities are always appearing, then this will become their reality. The world does not decide, the individual does. And the decision is made not through words alone, but through movement, through action, through the way one carries themselves. Those who wish to experience financial abundance must begin by embodying it. They must speak as if they already have it, move as if it is already theirs, trust as if it is already flowing. The shift is internal first, and the external world follows. Nothing is out of reach. Nothing is too distant. The only barrier between where one stands and where one wishes to be is the assumption that it is difficult to get there. The moment one stops hesitating, stops questioning, stops fearing, the moment they step into the world as if wealth is already theirs, that is the moment it begins to appear. The world reflects the beliefs held within. Every experience, every opportunity, every limitation exists because of the way one perceives themselves. Those who believe they are struggling, who see money as something separate from them, who feel unworthy of wealth, will continue to live out that assumption. But those who understand that wealth is not external, that it is a state of being, that it is simply a reflection of how one carries themselves, will see it manifest with ease. There is no force outside of oneself determining the flow of money. There is no external system that decides who prospers and who suffers. The only force at work is the mind. The wealthy do not have something others do not. They simply do not entertain the idea that they are separate from wealth. They do not see money as something to chase, something to struggle for, something to beg for. They see it as something natural, something that flows, something that responds to their certainty, and so it does. To become aligned with wealth, one must release the habits of mind that keep them in lack. Most people operate from fear, from doubt, from uncertainty. They say they desire wealth, yet every thought they hold contradicts that desire. They worry about expenses, they feel anxious about their financial situation. They believe that success is something that happens to others, not to them. And so, despite all their effort, despite all their work, they remain in a cycle of struggle. The ones who understand how reality works do not live this way. They do not waste time in worry. They do not hold on to fear. They do not place themselves in the position of the one who lacks. Instead, they see themselves as wealthy now, not in the future, not when circumstances change, not when their bank account reaches a certain number. They see it now. They embody it now. They do not wait for proof before they believe. They believe first, and then the proof appears. Most people misunderstand wealth. They think it is something that must be earned, something that must be worked for, something that is dependent on effort. But effort alone does not create wealth. There are many who work tirelessly, who push themselves beyond their limits, who struggle day and night, yet they never break free from financial limitation. Meanwhile, there are those who move through the world with ease, who do not strain, who do not chase, yet money seems to flow to them effortlessly. What is the difference? It is not intelligence, it is not luck, it is not opportunity, it is belief. Wealth is not something that comes as a result of action, it is something that comes as a result of state. The ones who assume wealth experience it, while the ones who assume lack continue to struggle. The assumption is the cause, the experience is the effect. To wait for wealth to appear before one feels wealthy is to misunderstand how creation works. It must be felt first, it must be lived first, it must be assumed first. Consider the way the wealthy carry themselves. They do not hesitate when an opportunity arises. They do not wonder if they are deserving. They do not shrink themselves in conversations. They do not act from fear. Their presence alone communicates certainty. They move with confidence. They trust in their own ability to attract and multiply money. They expect opportunities to appear, and so they do. Contrast this with the one who struggles with money. Every action, every word, every thought is filled with hesitation. They constantly worry about finances. They feel uncomfortable when discussing wealth. They make decisions from a place of fear rather than confidence. And in doing so, they reinforce their own lack. They tell the world through their every action that they do not see themselves as wealthy. And because they do not see it, the world does not reflect it. Wealth is not something that is earned in the way most believe. It is something that is aligned with. It is a frequency, a state of being, a way of moving through the world. The ones who align with it, who feel it before it appears, who trust in their own ability to attract it, are the ones who experience it effortlessly. The ones who doubt it, who fear it, who treat it as something outside of themselves, are the ones who find it elusive. There is no need to chase wealth. There is no need to grasp for it. Those who do so only affirm that they believe it is separate from them. The moment one stops chasing, stops fearing, stops doubting, the moment one steps fully into the state of wealth, that is the moment money begins to flow effortlessly. To live as if wealth is already present is not about reckless spending or pretending to be something one is not. It is about embodying the mindset of abundance. It is about removing fear from financial decisions. It is about speaking, moving, and thinking from a place of certainty rather than lack. It is about understanding that money is simply energy, responding to one's inner state. Most people do not realize that they are pushing money away through their own thoughts and actions. They fear spending, and in doing so they affirm that money is scarce. They hesitate in financial decisions, and in doing so they tell the world that they do not trust in their own abundance. They worry about losing money, and in doing so they invite loss. The world responds exactly as they expect it to. The wealthy do not live in this way. They do not fear money. They do not hold on to it with desperation. They do not see it as something that can be lost. They trust in their ability to create more. They trust in the flow of abundance. They expect money to return to them, and so it does. One must begin to move through the world as if wealth is already theirs. This means speaking from a place of certainty. This means making decisions with confidence. This means releasing every fear, every doubt, every thought of limitation. The shift is internal first. When one truly assumes the state of wealth, the external world has no choice but to rearrange itself accordingly. The difference between those who struggle and those who thrive is not in opportunity, not in intelligence, not in background. It is in assumption. Those who assume themselves to be wealthy experience wealth. Those who assume themselves to be lacking experience lack. The world does not decide, the individual does. Money is not something that is gained through effort alone. It is something that flows naturally to those who align with it. The moment one stops fearing money, stops doubting their own worthiness, stops treating wealth as something distant, that is the moment they step into a reality where money is no longer a concern. Everything is a reflection of belief. Those who believe wealth is difficult will find it to be so. Those who believe money is scarce will live in scarcity. Those who believe that success is reserved for others will never experience it for themselves. But the ones who shift their perspective, who begin to see money as something natural, who stop hesitating, stop fearing, stop doubting, these are the ones who experience abundance without effort. The shift does not require external proof. It does not require money in the bank before one begins to feel wealthy. It only requires an internal decision, a choice to believe, to assume, to embody wealth now. The external world follows the internal state. The moment one fully commits to the assumption that they are already wealthy, the world begins to move in ways that reflect that reality. There is no struggle, there is no force, there is only alignment. There is a state of being that cannot be faked, a presence that radiates certainty, an energy that moves through the world with effortless confidence. It is not about arrogance or superiority, it is about an unshakable knowing. Those who are wealthy in spirit before they are wealthy in the physical world carry themselves differently. They do not second-guess their value, they do not hesitate in their decisions, they do not fear the opinions of others. They know who they are, and because they know, the world must reflect it. Many believe that confidence comes from success, that certainty comes from wealth, that power comes from external achievements. But this is an illusion. It is not wealth that creates confidence. It is confidence that creates wealth. The world is a mirror, reflecting back exactly what is assumed to be true. The moment one steps into a state of certainty, the external world arranges itself accordingly. People respond differently, opportunities appear effortlessly, money flows with ease. Those who understand this principle never wait for proof before believing in themselves. They do not ask the world for permission to be great. They do not need validation to move boldly. They decide within themselves who they are. They assume it fully. They live as if it is already true. And because they do, the world bends to match that assumption. The ones who struggle, the ones who hesitate, the ones who live in doubt, all operate from the belief that they are separate from what they desire. They look for signs before they act. They seek approval before they trust themselves. They wait for money before they feel wealthy, and in doing so, they delay the very thing they seek. There is a presence that the wealthy have, a quiet power that speaks before they even say a word. It is not loud, it is not forced, it is not an act. It is the knowing that they belong, that they are worthy, that they are aligned with abundance. They do not ask for acceptance. They do not shrink themselves to make others comfortable. They do not operate from lack. They expect success, and so it comes. Those who move through the world with the energy of wealth are met with opportunities that others never see. Not because they are lucky, not because they are chosen, but because they have already chosen themselves. They have already aligned with abundance. They have already claimed it within. And because they have claimed it internally, it must appear externally. Most people make the mistake of thinking they must work harder, prove more, strive endlessly to be worthy of wealth. But it is not action alone that creates success. It is being. The energy one carries, the way one walks into a room, the certainty in one's voice, the unshakable belief in one's own value. This is what attracts wealth. It is not about pretending. It is about fully assuming that one is already the person they wish to be. The moment one stops seeing wealth as something separate, something distant, something that must be earned through struggle, they open the door for it to flow naturally. Those who hesitate, who doubt, who question their worthiness, push wealth away without realizing it. They communicate through their energy that they do not believe in their own abundance, and the world responds accordingly. There is no force, no struggle, no desperate attempt to grasp for success when one moves in alignment with wealth. The wealthy do not try to convince others of their worth. They already know it. They do not chase opportunities. Opportunities come to them. They do not live in fear of loss. They trust in the infinite flow of abundance. This is not a game of effort. It is a game of alignment. Everything is energy. Money, success, opportunities. They are all drawn to those who are in harmony with them. One does not need to change the external world to experience abundance. One only needs to change their internal state. The moment one fully embraces the assumption of wealth, the world begins to reflect it back in ways that seem almost magical. But there is no magic. It is simply law, the law that states that whatever is assumed to be true must become reality. Look at those who exude wealth even before they have great financial success. They move differently. They carry themselves with confidence. They do not doubt their place in the world. They trust in their ability to create. They expect the best, and they receive it. It is not because of luck. It is not because of background. It is because of alignment. To step into this state, one must release every habit of thought that contradicts it. Every fear, every doubt, every hesitation must be abandoned. One must walk through life as if they already are who they wish to be. Not in the future, not someday, but now. Every action, every word, every thought must align with that assumption. This is how reality shifts. The world does not respond to what one wants, it responds to what one is. The moment one becomes wealth in mind, in presence, in energy, the external world must rearrange itself to match. There is no other way. The law is unbreakable. The ones who live by it experience ease, abundance, and success. The ones who resist it, who cling to doubt and fear, continue to struggle. One cannot fake this energy. It must be real. It must be fully assumed. It is not about acting as if, it is about knowing. The difference is subtle but absolute. To act as if is to still acknowledge separation, to pretend. To know is to claim it fully, to live it completely, to embody it without hesitation. The moment one makes that internal shift, the external world has no choice but to follow. There is no need to prove, no need to justify, no need to struggle. Simply assume the state. Move through the world as one who already possesses wealth, and wealth will come. Carry the energy of certainty, and certainty will be reflected back. Trust in the law, and the law will not fail. The moment one fully steps into this awareness, wealth is no longer something to chase. It is something that flows naturally, effortlessly, inevitably.